What if I told you that most women miss the moment a man decides he wants her, and I mean asterisk, really asterisk wants her? Not just for now, but for something deeper, something he doesn't fully understand yet. It doesn't come with grand speeches or poetic declarations. It shows up in behaviors so subtle they almost go unnoticed. But here's the catch. If you overlook these signs, you might walk away from the one person who sees your value long before you ever ask for it. Imagine the regret of missing someone who was already choosing you silently, fiercely, and with more clarity than he's willing to admit. In this journey, we'll uncover the quiet actions that speak louder than intentions, dive into the shift that happens when a man's desire moves from curiosity to commitment, and explore what happens when his internal world starts to reorganize around asterisk you asterisk. And if you're already thinking, is he doing this for me? Don't blink, because the answer might reveal itself in the very next breath. When a man truly wants you, not just for attention or fleeting affection, but with genuine desire and depth, it shows in the way he reorganizes his priorities. And one of the most powerful, yet often overlooked, signs is when he begins to place your happiness above his own convenience. This doesn't mean he loses himself in the process or that he abandons his goals. It means that in his world, your well-being begins to matter on a level that challenges his usual comfort zones. He doesn't just make time for you when it's easy. He adjusts his routine, changes plans, and adapts to unexpected needs, not because he has to, but because something inside him tells him that your smile, your peace, your comfort, it's worth it. That internal shift speaks louder than words, because love that's real doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in choices that no one else sees. Imagine a man who's had a long day, mentally drained, physically exhausted, deadlines piling up, but when you need someone to listen, or when you're feeling low, he doesn't respond with irritation or excuses. He leans in. He silences his own chaos to create space for your thoughts, your feelings, your presence. That moment may seem small, but it's monumental. He may not say it, but through every minor adjustment, he's revealing a deeper message. Your emotional state matters to him more than his own comfort. It's not about people pleasing or perfection, it's about alignment. He begins to align his actions with the goal of protecting your emotional world, even if it costs him sleep, time, or ease. And that alignment doesn't just happen by chance. It happens when desire grows into something meaningful. You'll start noticing the shift in how he makes decisions. Maybe he starts checking in more often, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely wants to know how your day went. Maybe he changes weekend plans to be where you are, or sits through things he normally wouldn't choose for himself, events, conversations, even challenges, just because he knows it brings you joy. And if he sees you hurting, even in small ways, there's a part of him that won't rest until he's helped fix it, or at least held space for it. This isn't about being a savior, it's about being present. And presence, especially in a world full of distractions, is one of the most valuable things a person can give. It's in the little things too, the way he listens without his phone in hand, the way he remembers your preferences, the way he anticipates your needs before you speak them. These are not grand, sweeping gestures, but a series of micro decisions that, when added up, spell out devotion. Even if he hasn't verbalized his feelings, his willingness to stretch his own limits for your benefit is proof of something real. Love, when unspoken, often leaks out through sacrifice. And a man who truly wants you, not just physically but emotionally, is a man who will gradually shift his life to make room for your joy, without needing a round of applause in return. Sometimes it shows up in how he handles conflict. Instead of walking away when things get tough, he stays. Instead of reacting from ego, he tries to understand. He may struggle because no one gets it right all the time, but the difference is in the effort. When he wants you badly, he doesn't let inconvenience become an excuse. He shows up even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges his pride or forces him to grow. That growth isn't easy, but wanting you makes it worth it to him. His actions begin to reflect a long-term mindset, one that values emotional investment over temporary comfort. And while he may not articulate his reasons, you'll feel the weight of his presence when it matters most. When other people take the easy way out, he leans in. When others disappear at the first sign of difficulty, he becomes more grounded. Your happiness becomes a part of his emotional equation, something he considers in his decisions. Not because you've asked him to, not because you've demanded it, but because something about you has awakened a level of care that runs deeper than his routines. This kind of connection doesn't always announce itself loudly. It often grows in silence, in patience, in actions taken without being noticed. But if you look closely, you'll see it's in the way he chooses your joy over his ease, your peace over his plans, and your needs over his habits. When a man genuinely wants you and sees you as part of his future, one of the most revealing signs is how his conversations begin to shift. It's no longer just about casual chats, surface-level topics, or day-to-day updates. Instead, he starts steering discussions toward deeper, more meaningful subjects, conversations that reveal not just where he is now, but where he wants to be, and more importantly, where he envisions you within that journey. He's no longer afraid to talk about time, commitment, or the idea of building something lasting. These aren't empty words tossed around to impress. They are reflections of internal thought, of emotional seriousness, and of a desire to align his path with yours. In these moments, he'll start asking you the kinds of questions that open emotional doors. He'll want to know about your dreams, your values, your fears, and what you truly want in life, not because he's trying to make small talk, but because he's trying to understand the architecture of your inner world. And then subtly, he'll begin integrating your answers into his own vision. Maybe he starts mentioning where he sees himself in 5 or 10 years and follows up with, "What about you?" Maybe he talks about wanting a certain kind of home, career, or family life, and pauses to see if you see yourself in that picture. These are not random hypotheticals. They're emotional markers of where his mind is going, and more often than not, he's hoping you're walking with him in that same direction. There's a vulnerability in these moments that shouldn't be ignored. When a man opens up about his hopes and plans, it means he trusts you with the most fragile part of his identity, his vision for his future. It's easy to share stories of the past, but it takes a different kind of courage to talk about what's ahead, especially when it includes someone else. This is his way of saying, without directly stating it, that you matter on a deeper level, that he's willing to consider love as something more than a feeling. It becomes a decision, a structure, and a shared mission. His questions won't always come with poetic language or dramatic flair. They'll be practical, grounded, and sincere, and that sincerity is everything. He'll also begin to notice how your goals align with his. If he hears you talking about your ambitions, he won't dismiss them or change the subject. He'll engage, offer ideas, or simply listen with genuine curiosity. This isn't about control or approval. It's about connection. He wants to know if your growth can grow alongside his. He might mention things like traveling together, starting a business, or making investments. And sometimes it'll show up in smaller, more intimate plans, like what kind of home you'd love, how many kids you want, or where you'd ideally settle down. He'll bring these topics up not to pressure you, but to explore compatibility, and because deep down he wants to build something real. And if you're paying close attention, you'll notice he starts talking less about I and more about we. His language begins to shift. "I've always wanted to live by the ocean" becomes, "Can you imagine us waking up to that view someday?" This change might be subtle, but it's a major indicator that he's emotionally invested. He's no longer thinking in isolation. He's imagining what life would be like with you in it, and not just in passing, but in permanence. Even when he talks about challenges like work stress or personal obstacles, he begins to frame them within the context of someone who's preparing for something bigger, something more stable, and something that includes another person. You. These conversations are sacred. They are the quiet blueprints of someone trying to merge lives, not just spend time. And when a man initiates them, it's not just about him needing to be heard, it's about him wanting you to see his seriousness, his loyalty, and his willingness to build something lasting. He's offering you a window into his intentions, trusting that you'll see the depth behind the words. And even if he's not perfect in his communication, The effort to initiate and maintain future-focused dialogue is proof that his heart isn't just chasing the now, it's investing in what could be. When you see that pattern, know that it comes from a place of deep emotional commitment and a desire to make you a permanent part of his story. When a man deeply desires you but isn't yet ready to speak those words aloud, one of the most telling signs is how he unconsciously mirrors your emotions and energy. It's not a calculated move or a manipulative tactic. It's an instinctive response, a reflection of how emotionally attuned he has become to your presence. Without even realizing it, he begins to synchronize with the way you feel, the way you speak, the way you move through a moment. If you're joyful, he lights up. If you're withdrawn, he becomes quieter. This is the kind of emotional mirroring that goes beyond empathy. It's a bond being formed silently beneath the surface, where real connections take root long before they're named. When you're excited and full of passion, he matches that vibrancy. He listens with a different kind of focus, leans in when you speak, and starts using the same phrases or expressions you do without even noticing it. You'll begin to see his posture shift to mirror yours, or that his laughter picks up just after yours. If you're nervous or unsure, his tone softens, his words become gentler, more reassuring. He may not even know why he's doing it, but what's happening is this. His emotional rhythm is syncing with yours like two instruments slowly tuning to the same frequency. This subtle dance of energy is the body and heart's way of saying, I see you, I feel what you feel, and I'm here with you. You might start picking up on how he adjusts his behavior based on your moods, not out of fear or obligation, but because your emotional climate has become important to him. When you're stressed, he lowers his own intensity to not overwhelm you. When you're enthusiastic, he raises his emotional temperature to match it, creating a sense of safety and companionship that feels almost invisible, yet deeply grounding. He's not copying you, he's connecting to you on a level where words often fail. This kind of mirroring is an emotional echo. It's instinctual, and it's often one of the first signs that his heart is far more involved than he's admitting. You'll also notice this mirroring in the ways he communicates. If you're expressive and open, over time he becomes more open too. If you're calm and introspective, he starts slowing down his pace, choosing his words with more thought. These shifts aren't always immediate, but they are meaningful. They suggest that he's paying close attention not just to what you're saying, but to how you're saying it. And that awareness only deepens the emotional bridge being built between you. It's the kind of connection that forms in silence, in shared glances, in the still moments when no one is performing, but both people feel seen. And it isn't just your emotions he reflects, it's your energy. If you're someone who's driven, passionate, always moving toward goals, he'll begin matching that momentum. He starts showing up more, initiating more, becoming more intentional, not to impress, but because your energy pulls him forward. Conversely, if you're someone who seeks peace, calm, and steady comfort, you'll find him slowing down, creating calm around you. It's not about losing himself in you, it's about his subconscious desire to meet you where you are, to be on the same emotional plane as you, without needing to explain it. There's also a kind of vulnerability in this mirroring because it requires him to let go of his ego. It means he's allowing himself to be emotionally influenced by you, something that not every man allows. But when he does, when he starts unconsciously absorbing your moods, shifting with your energy, and mirroring your expressions, it's a sign that your presence matters. Not in a surface level way, but in a way that's rewriting how he interacts with the world when you're in it. His emotional radar becomes tuned to you, and even when he doesn't speak his feelings, his body language and behavior tell a story louder than any confession could. You may not always recognize it at first. It might look like him laughing just a little louder when you're happy, or sitting beside you quietly when you're lost in thought. It might be him using a phrase you said weeks ago, or remembering a subtle gesture you once made. These mirrored moments are small, but together they form a pattern of presence, of reflection, of emotional alignment, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because deep connection doesn't always come in grand gestures or poetic declarations. Sometimes it arrives softly, silently, through a man who doesn't even realize he's begun to reflect you in ways that show just how much you matter. When a man is quietly in love with you, one of the clearest yet often unspoken signs is the way he makes consistent sacrifices just to stay connected with you. These sacrifices aren't always grand or dramatic, but their consistency reveals a deeper truth. He values your presence in his life so much that he's willing to bend his own comfort, time, and priorities to keep that connection alive. He doesn't do this for just anyone, and he certainly doesn't do it to gain anything in return. His sacrifices stem from a place of deep emotional investment, even if he never puts that feeling into words. You might notice how he rearranges his schedule to make time for you, even when his own day is packed with responsibilities. Maybe he's exhausted after work, or he has 1,000 things on his mind, but if you call or need him, he finds a way to be there. He'll skip out on rest, miss an event, or push back personal plans just to share a moment with you, and he does it without making you feel guilty or reminding you of what he gave up. He masks the sacrifice with a smile or a casual comment, but underneath it, there's a quiet truth your time together matters more to him than the comfort he's giving up. It's not just about physical presence either. He sacrifices mental and emotional energy too. Even when he's dealing with his own challenges, he still checks in on you, remembers the little things you said, or supports you in ways that require emotional labor. He may be carrying his own weight silently, but he never lets it interfere with being there for you. He listens when you speak, offers advice when needed, and becomes your emotional anchor even if he's drifting himself. That kind of emotional sacrifice is rarely seen but deeply felt. It means he's invested in your well-being beyond just words or fleeting feelings. Sometimes his sacrifices show up in the choices he makes about his environment or social life. Maybe he spends less time with friends who don't support the connection he has with you, or he avoids situations that might cause tension or make you feel insecure. He modifies his behavior not to control or hide who he is, but because he's aware of how his actions impact the bond between you. It's an invisible reshaping of habits, boundaries, and priorities, all done quietly, without applause or explanation. These are the kinds of choices that reveal someone's heart long before they admit what they feel. You'll also find that he sacrifices moments of pride or ego just to keep the connection smooth. In disagreements, he may choose peace over being right, not because he's weak, but because he values harmony more than validation. He listens even when he's frustrated, and he pauses before reacting, not to avoid conflict, but to ensure it doesn't damage the bond you're both building. That level of emotional control isn't easy. It's a sacrifice of impulse, a setting aside of one's own emotional reflexes for the sake of something bigger. And he does it not because he's afraid of losing you, but because he genuinely wants to preserve what you share. In moments where his own needs compete with yours, he often leans in your direction. Maybe he had a different plan or a personal goal in mind, but if supporting you means delaying that, he does so with a quiet kind of grace. He may not draw attention to it, but those decisions carry weight. Over time, they become proof not of dependence, but of dedication. He's choosing you again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's unnoticed, even when it cost him something. These sacrifices build a silent bridge between you and him, a bridge made of moments where he chose connection over convenience, loyalty over laziness, care over comfort. And he doesn't need to label it as love or make grand statements to prove it. His actions speak louder. They echo in the times he stays on the call a little longer just because you sounded tired, or in the texts he sends just to check if you made it home safe, or in the way he shows up when no one else does. Each small act may seem ordinary, but together they form a powerful narrative of commitment and care. This is the language of a man who loves quietly, who expresses depth not with declarations, but with daily decisions to keep you close, even at a personal cost.